coming for the last talk of the day. We're en route to the party, which is just above. Maybe you will still hear me during this talk. And the last subject for today is basically a use case, a customer use case of one of the Switzerland's major retailers and what they did with Odoo to manage all their online business. My name is Matt Fasola. I'm from BrainTech. We have a booth here. It's F1, I think. So if you have more questions that we don't have time during this session here, then just come visit us at the booth. So the agenda for these 25 odd minutes that we are is like briefly about us, who's BrainTech, then mainly about the client, which is Landi. And then we go through the journey. So there was a legacy system that I will briefly introduce and what was there before. And then what the new ideas were and how we implemented that. You will see the live demo of a demo system with everything there. No videos, it will just all be done live as it goes. And then we have the Q&A. And then we're off to the party. All right, so we're BrainTech. We're in the game since the year 2000, so 22 years. And we're one of the major Odoo partners, mainly in the German-speaking areas, but basically all over Europe. Wherever you need us, we will be there. The pictures you see are from our last global BrainTech event in Valencia. It was very nice. So we have a pretty cool crowd. We're still a small company, but for an Odoo partner, we're quite a lot, and they're all brains that have a lot of knowledge, and we can talk with each other and improve our projects continually. So who's the customer? The customer was Landi, Switzerland. They are actually a funny organization because they are a parent organization of actually the boss are the child. So there is a group of co-ops. It's a very common thing in Switzerland. So there's a group of different co-ops and they have a parent company, but the parent company is basically just a subsidiary. So it's a service company. The whole co-op has about 200 stores all over Switzerland, and it's very strong in rural areas. They have a very strong personal connection with their customers because they're in small villages, they know each other, it's not very anonymous, and so they have a very well-known brand in those areas and a very personal relationship. The whole company belongs to basically the group of farmers or the Association of Farmers in Switzerland. That's a very big group and they have a lot of other companies. So in the whole group of companies that are involved here, we have many stakeholders. So that was just the situation that we had. So what we've come from is we had a solution that was done in Open ERP 7, if someone still remembers that. It was done for another client, but then somehow Landi onboarded on that. And so we basically adapted it for them. And you can see, this is the simplified view of how everything was set up. The red thing in the middle was Odoo. And there were like about 40 or 48 or something interfaces. Mainly SOAP, XML stuff, pretty complicated. It was totally historically grown, the system itself and all the things around it. There was no design behind it. Then the pandemic came and we had a surge of 3,000% in the numbers of orders that had to be processed. So you can imagine the whole web here was strained on more than one place. We had many limitations because there was no proper design. It was just grown as it was. We had a central mail order warehouse. If you order something online, they had two routes. One is you order it online and you go and pick it up in the store. Still like the main route actually because it's rural, it's outside, it's easy for people to just go to the store and pick it up. Or they can have it mailed and that was sent out from a central warehouse. Then 2 years ago, they wanted to make up a new solution or a new idea. So they came up with the business plan for 2022. And they wanted to put the local stores at the center of all of it. So they said, we don't want to have a central warehouse. We don't want to have a central whatever. The customer interaction should be as much as possible at the stores. So basically, not only when you have a click and collect, but also when you have a mail order, it should be prepared in the store. If there is a problem, they probably even know the customer. So all pickup and mail orders would be executed in the local stores. The personal customer service is executed between the people that are local. But then we needed a central interface for all the orders, because if you want to have now one online shop for all the local stores, or you directly send an order to the local stores to execute it, and to do all the complications of an online order, what is if a product isn't there? I have to cancel it. I have to refund a credit card payment, or partially refund, or I have other things, I have questions. So this is too complicated for the people that work in the local store. So they really still wanted a central platform that does all the heavy lifting of the online orders. And also they wanted that all the communication was done from one place. So there is one clear, branded, national communication going out. We had email, we had text messages, and we had push messages on the app. And then also, they wanted to have a central help desk for when people had a question about the online order process and a product and so on. So this is basically the local stores, they would source the goods and they would deliver to people. But the central Switzerland-based national company would care about all the organization of the online ordering processes. We decided not to migrate that very old system in version 7, but to have a fresh start on Odoo 14 Enterprise. So the new business model that you see here is, we started with Odoo 14 Enterprise. What you see is the whole thing when you pick up an order. So you have several things. You can do a pickup order, you can do a home delivery order. It all would from the shop, which is a very custom specific shop that they have, go to Odoo. And then from there, it would go back to the stores. It could be delivered directly by people from the stores. They have their own delivery vehicles. Or it could be picked up by an external third-party delivery service. They pick up the parcel, they bring it to the sorting center, and then they bring it to the people. Depends on what it is. Depends on the product. And you would still have Odoo in the middle that would have to know on every one step what the order is now, or what stage it is now. And there can be many steps, because it can be picked, it can be packed, it can be sent, it can be on the road, and so on. So the decentralized fulfillment, which is done in the local stores. Then we have the centralized management on behalf of the national company that does the sales, does the customer care, does the accounting, so we get all the credit card money and so on, and the automated communication. So for us, we were acting on behalf of the national company. That meant that we would go, and every order would be a classic make-to-order order. So for everything we sell, we have to purchase the same thing from the local stores. Because they send out the goods, and those goods belong to those local stores. It's a different accounting, it's a different company. So we basically have to buy everything there. And that's what we did. The project set up. So we had about a dozen stakeholders at the table. So that made for quite big meetings in the design phase. We were working as teams over different company borders. So there were several companies inside the client's organization. and at the same time also different suppliers. So with us, but also other suppliers that did the web shop and so on. What was good and helping in this case is that we had a mutual trust between the teams, because mainly it was the same people that already did the first project years ago. So that was very good in terms of building also the trust and defining new solutions together. What we did, we are very agile. We work with Scrum. We're usually always very agile whenever we develop a solution for a client. In this case, because there were so many people and we tried to design something radically new, there was quite a long design phase, unusual for us, where we sat with all the different stakeholders and made up our minds, the whole customer journeys, also the whole journeys for the employees, they work in the local stock and so on. That took about 3 months. Just really like, there was no details decision. Of course, we would then, in the implementation phase, again, work very agile, as we would see. But for the design phase and seeing what the APIs of the different systems are, that was quite the thing. Then there was a decision that we don't want to have any states on the systems that the other system would have to trust on. So if, for example, they pick a partial quantity in the store and they send us, okay, we now picked so many quantities of their product, if we lose a message and we have only these delta messages, we would just lose track. So we decided is all the communications between the systems means they tell the whole story. So every time they pick something in the store, we get a message saying, this is the situation with the whole order. So this product 0 was picked, this product 5 was picked, this product 3 were picked. We always get the whole context. And then Odoo is just going and trying to align that in Odoo. The design decisions were then also influenced by us. It was very much, we took care to try to make everything be as standard Odoo as possible. And obviously, we took the experience from the past system and improved on that. And then also what we did and was a key factor for the success in this project was that we tested a lot, automated obviously. So we started writing a lot of automated tests because we had this design phase where we were pretty clear about the APIs. So we could implement tests for these APIs before we even started to implement the system. So quickly, Odoo's new role is the web shop sends all the orders to Odoo. Use the REST interface so that the shop could do that. Then we had an automation through every step. So what do you have to do if an online order comes in and the quotation is still in draft? Well, you have to confirm the quotation, maybe after a few checks. Then the picking is created. Then you have created the invoice. Then you basically have to pay the invoice because it's credit card or whatever online service provider, so it's paid. Then we have to send the customer the invoice because he needs like a ticket. If your tax is on there, so if it's company ordering, they need it. Also, private persons want to have it. That's another automation step. And then we have to send it out, and so on. So that was quite extensive. And we did an automation that is very configurable. I will show you that. Then we would communicate with the local stores and with the customers. Inform them step by step what's happening. Then we manage the handover to the delivery partner, in case there is one. And then there is the thing with the master data, because the product information, the stock, and so on, that's not from Odoo, right? We have other systems at the customers already. They have PIM systems. They have many other systems where they have product master data. We have stock levels of every one stock that they have, these 200 stores. Everything that they have on stock every day is sent to Odoo every 20 minutes. And we update that, so on the website, you can actually see in each store if they have the product on store. And also we keep the BI up to date, so there's an export from Odoo every 15 minutes. So basically the management can see what's going on. They never look at it probably, or not so often, I don't know. But we send it off and we never heard a complaint. And then there is the after sales and customer service, which is centralized, which uses standard Odoo help desk. And it's very nice because it's connected to the orders. They can just click, click, click through. I would like to, microphone problem, show you quickly around. So this is Odoo 14 Enterprise. We'll just quickly go to sales. So you see, for example, some orders here. There will be a click and collect order right there. Let's just look at it to see what you see. And you see everything looks like very much like standard Odoo. As said, you have the delivery, which you have here. You see this one is done already. Then you see a purchase order, because I said it is make to order. So everything that we actually send off to a client, or the client comes and pick up, he pays us as the national company, and we have to pay the local stores. So we have to purchase that from the local stores that will prepare it and give it to the customer. So we also have a vendor bill. That's also automated in here. And then we have tickets. So if you see something is going wrong, you could go and would automatically have the ticket on the order, and basically you come from the other side. If you work in help desk, you see the ticket, and then you just go to the sales order and you see what's happened. And everything else is pretty standard Odoo. What else did we do? Yeah, I'll say that later. So that's a first overview on how it looks, how it's automated. So main architecture and design decisions, and I think that's the most important slide for this talk, really, because I can just show you how that worked, how we implement that. I think the key thing for you to take with you is the decisions that we took and that led us to a good outcome of the project. And the first one is use Odoo. This was only 14. We saw all the new amazing, blazing, fast things from Odoo 16, and I saw some things today in the keynote that made me very happy, very nice. But even Odoo 14 was already very good. So use Odoo. It provides a lot, and use everything of it that you actually need. Do never reinvent the wheel. There were certain things that we actually had to do, you know, all the interfaces and the automation. That's not in standard, that's okay. But we try to never change the way Odoo works. We just added to it. Then for all the interfaces, we did not do compromises. Some people wanted to keep some old SOAP XML messages, and I would just refused. I would just say that's not going to work. So other systems had to change as well. We only wanted to have JSON REST interfaces because they're so much more lightweight. They are so much better performant and easier to configure, easier to deal with, and that helped us a lot. Then you see these message queues. We defined message formats, one for orders, one for shipments, and then there were some for product and stock and like that, but they're always the same. If we send an order to the third-party system, it's a new order they have to prepare. It's one message format, and when we get it back, we get back the same message. There are just different values in there because now things are picked, or things are packed, or things are shipped. But it's basically the same format. So we really invested a lot to trying to keep these interfaces as simple as possible. And then one kind of the core of the whole automated processing thing is our automation, and I will show you how we did that. Maybe it's an inspiration. They can be configured pretty flexibly. So time for more demo. So we already saw the order, and we already saw that it was automated. The way how we did that, you see we have jobs. These are the OCA jobs, and you probably know. So everything is done asynchronously over time. We have a lot of jobs, thousands of jobs that are currently processing, and that works very, very fine. It's super performant. And then we have these state logs. This is basically whenever something happens to the order, and we maybe have an input message, and we have to update the order. That's where it goes. It creates a state here, and that gets processed. So you have here is the first ones. It's just like it's newly created. There is not much happening. But then you see here, you see basically the message that we got from the third-party system that we then automated on. How this is done. So this should be the interesting part. So in configuration, we see here these sales states. And as I said, it's an important thing. We needed more states. We needed to know in detail where the sale order is. And we would never go and change the sale order states that we already have in Odoo. That's just a recipe for disaster, because they have a function, they have processes behind that. Don't touch them. It just leads to trouble. So what we did is basically like a detailed state. We called it the sales state, and they are completely configurable. So you can see this is all the different states that an order could have. Being overwhelmed by music is not one, but it can be new, it can be updated, there can be a replacement that is done. It can be processed, that basically means it's picked. It can be packed, it can be out on the road, it can be at the third-party delivery service. And what we did here, this is really, it's configurable. So let's basically look at maybe this one. What we have to do is, of course, we cannot configure everything. If you have to do things like put update done quantities, validate an incoming shipment, validate an outgoing shipment, creating a ticket, whatever, you have to implement that. But this here, you see, is the steps that we implemented. There were basically a certain set of functions, and this set can be like I confirm the order, that's what happens in the beginning. I create the purchase, I create an invoice, I pay an invoice, I then specialized things can happen because I can have a dropship situation. I can change the carrier, that's a possibility. I can update the incoming shipment, confirm the incoming shipment, update the outgoing shipment, and so on. This is always the same implementation. They work on those standard formats of the message that we had. And for each of the incoming messages or a state that I assign a sales order, I can choose which things should be executed. So if the order is in new, I do the thing up here. If the order is coming in, it's basically collected, so someone picked it up in the store. I will just, to be sure, check the incoming shipments, but then I would do the outgoing shipments, and I would create a vendor bill. Another one would be when this one here, yes. So this one here is when in the pick and collect, when they pick it up in the store, what we need to do then is, of course, put the incoming shipment. But then the next step is also I have to send emails. So this we also made completely configurable. If I want on any sales step, I want to send a communication to the customer, I do that. I can configure an email, a template. I can configure for text messages a template, and the same for push messages. So for each of those steps, I was very, very flexible to do that. And the customer actually did on, during the project, find out, oh no, that's not very good here. If we have a cancellation, first they did not want to have a communication. Later on they said, yes, we want to have a communication for when we have outgoing shipments, or when we have a cancellation or whatever, and we'd go and just change that because it's flexible. Then one thing I can show you is on the order itself, we also have the outgoing requests because we sent that to other systems, right? So when this one was done, we sent it to the order. So you can, on each order directly, you can see all the requests that we generated from that and sent out. And this is very easy, very much easier than the processing the incoming. So if you have something that you send out, you can just easily configure that without coding anything actually. The whole thing here can be configured with a very easy system. So I'll just give you a very quick rundown of a live demo. Let's just do a, what should we do? Yeah, we can do this one, probably. We have created different test cases, and I will just simulate the shop that creates the sale order in Odoo. And then also, I simulate the little MDEs that they have in the store to pick and ship it out. And that will all go in the background. And so basically, if we look at the orders, then we can see there is this one, and it was created right now. And you can see how now these state logs flow in. Now we have 3, now we already have 5. And they are getting processed. Now it's already 6. And if with every step that gets processed, something else happens, like purchases get done, delivery currently was just done right now. So that went through all these 10 steps in really, it goes a bit slower, of course, because someone does it. But that was just basically executed now in real time. And the order was done like this. And you can see the whole communication that was sent to the customer on the side all the time. So that was basically from the demo. That was my talk. Thank you very much for attending that. It's very late, I know, and the party is calling. We have audible cues for that. As said, you can visit us at booth F1 if you want to know more details. I have more questions how we did certain details of that project. Don't hesitate, come to our booth and ask me about it if someone has a question right now.
Yeah, thank you very much. Does anyone has a question that we could ask now? Yep, sorry.
At the stores, which software they use? They don't use Odoo.
No, because that company already has an own software company they own, is Bison, and they have this smart retail system.
Okay.
And they have this already in place. They have these MDEs, also Zebra, Things, okay. And they have that. It's their own solution that they already have, but they don't have that integration into the online shop. And then if it would have the integration, it would not be centrally managed.
Yeah, and one second question. When the message is coming, you normalize it to the Odoo standard functionality? Or?
Yeah. So basically what you saw this state, sales state, now we have certain steps in there, and they just read the message, interpret it, and do Odoo standard steps, like the MTO, like the incoming shipment, the outgoing shipment, partial deliveries, splitting, back order, everything in standard Odoo terms, yes.
Okay. And the central, is my question, the central use Odoo and have all on it? Yes. With accounting and like this?
Yes, exactly. So we have the vendor bill, but we pay to the store, we have the customer invoice, we have all the bank accounts, and the whole online business accounting is in Odoo. And then by the end of the month, they have the summary that they put in their central whatever system. It's just a summary. But all online system is, it's one business case that is central in Odoo.
All right. We have another question just here.
Hello. Quite impressive presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you structure your project team between BrainTech and Landi, as we see, to be on time, on budget, with all the features you implemented?
That is very, very good question, and it's very difficult to do that. And quite frankly, a project that big, it's near impossible to do every feature as they originally thought in the price that we set. So what you do is basically, we estimate everything, we have a budget, and we stick to that budget. We were in time, we were in budget, but on the way we would have to say we reprioritize and we skip some features. For example, the drop shipment was then deprioritized, and we said we do that later with a continuous improvement project. Finish it there because it was too late that everything was like finally satisfied for that. And we prioritized for other features. But we had a working system in budget and in time. They were very specific about that. But you have, the key thing is prioritize, 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 prioritize. At the end of the money, you have to have a good enough system. And then you can leave some things for later on. Thank you for the question. Thank you.
We have some question also on the live. They would like to know what is the rate between standard and customization in that database.
That is a tricky question because everything that is standard you don't really count, right? But we use so much from standard that it is maybe 20% customized or probably less. I mean, it's the whole automation that it is. And that's it, yeah. Everything else is more or less standard. Yeah.
Awesome. We also have a second question is, have you been using existing external queue like RabbitMQ, or have you thought about using?
No, we did not. We did not want to use any other tool than Odoo because it just makes things more complicated. So all the other partners had already different queues. So they have some Azure queues. They have some different software everywhere. So we tried to keep it very, very simple in Odoo. What we did is we did a very simple message queue in Odoo that would just take this JSON data and not more. And then we process that step by step by step. And everything that was standard then, yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you for the
Thank you.
answer. Does anyone else? Oh, awesome.
Yes, thank you. Question about the infrastructure. What type of infrastructure are you using? Are you using Odoo SH, or do you have your own? Do you use Kubernetes or something simpler? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So in this case, we use a standard root server that we administer on behalf of the client. Odoo SH or other, that is tricky when you have interfaces, because we need to shoot REST requests. As you saw, my script, that was just shooting all the messages over the REST. And that is tricky to do on a shared host like that. So what we have a staging server and we have a live server. It's a root server that we manage like for every other customer. Yeah.
Okay, but is it like a shared high availability system or just one machine that serves it?
I don't even know the technical details, but it is. Well, I can't actually tell you that for sure. That's our IT department that does.
Okay, one last question. The user to worker ratio in Odoo, what's that?
Oh yeah, very good questions. We probably have more workers than users because the high automation. You saw it's like 5 to 20 state changes, and then it's all the outbound requests. Then we have the bursts of 20,000 products updated every 20 minutes. So we have a lot of workers in the background, and the users are only maybe 10 users that work with the help desk, because the orders are totally automated. Unless you have a ticket and you have to inquire somewhere, everything is fully automated. So it's probably twice as many workers as users.
Thank you.
Does anyone have a last question? No? Well, thank you very much for this talk. It was very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.